that word you use?
Spoilers.
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 Spoilers. Spoilers. Spoilers.
I like that word.
I thought you might.
Hello everyone and welcome to Review Who. Now just before we begin today, yes, that is a 13th Doctor figure on the shelf behind me. I know I said I wouldn't be making one, but I changed my mind and I will be showcasing that particular figure sometime early in the new year. Anyway, back to the video. Today we are going to hit the ground running with a review of The Chase. The second part of the story, following on from the previous one, the Space Museum, The Chase is definitely the stronger of the two. Which is interesting, because at times it does stray from the normal conventions of Doctor Who. Despite this being such a dramatic sounding and at times viewing episode, it was only in re-watching this to write this review that I actually realised that this story is much more comedic than it is dramatic. This story is very much a does what it says on the tin kind of story. The Daleks are chasing the TARDIS crew across time and space. And in turn, this does lead to some interesting events, both on alien worlds and throughout history. And whilst this story does have some great moments, both in the story and the narrative history of the show, such as Ian and Barbara's departure and the introduction of future companion Stephen Taylor, generally the story is made up of many small subplots, and unfortunately that is the down point of this story. Don't get me wrong, it's still a very good story, but if we look at another story, say the Keys of Marinus, the overall subplot, i.e. to find the keys, is always present. However, for this story, the overall plotline is the chase. And maybe it's just me, but you do get a moment, however brief, when watching this story, when you do think, is something actually going to happen to progress the story? As I said at the beginning of this review, this story is very much more comedic than it is dramatic, but the great thing about it is during those moments of drama, the actual dramatic parts are really intense. We see the Daleks invade the Mary Celeste, Frankenstein's monster destroying a Dalek, the Daleks taking in the sights of New York City, a daring escape from the burning building, thus far the only appearance in the series of the Mechanoids, the Doctor fighting his own robot clone, and finally a very touching scene, in very dramatic contrast to his earlier opinions of them, that see Ian and Barbara part ways with the Doctor.
We still want to go.
Please, Doctor.
Very well. Follow me.
When you look at it like that, you actually realise what a packed episode this is. And whilst it is more comedic, there is no short of drama and thus action in the slightest. But for me, of course, it does have to be the comedic moments that stand out, most notably the rare comedic actions of the Daleks. In episode 2, we have a Dalek who isn't really paying attention.
And use them to take the ship free? Yes. Well, see to it.
And another which seems to have a concept of the epic fail.
It must be constructed of a material that can resist our neutralizers. Failure.
And in episode 5, we have a group of Daleks nodding their eye stalks in confirmation of their plan. You might even say that the Daleks' comedic moments in this story show some of their most excellent acting. One thing this episode is noted for is the special guest appearance of 4 musical stars at the height of their fame, none other than the Beatles. Appearing on the time-space visualizer in episode 1, we are treated to a brief glimpse of an early live performance of Ticket to Ride, as well as some interesting dancing from Ian. But in a strange twist of irony for Doctor Who, the recording of this original live performance has now been lost, and so now it only exists as a clip in this episode. And an even further irony is due to licensing and music restrictions, this scene has actually been lost, again having been edited out of all DVD releases apart from the Regions 2 and 4 releases. I guess you could say that John, Paul, George and Ringo's Ticket to Ride in the TARDIS finally ran out. Yeah. Whilst it might not be the great dramatic story you were hoping for, if you haven't seen it before, then The Chase is highly one that I would recommend that you have to see. It's an odd mix of an episode to be sure, but rather like when you're making a cake without a recipe and you have to guess the quantities. Sometimes, just sometimes, you get the mix just right and it makes that cake even more delicious. And that's what The Chase is. It's Doctor Who's perfect cake episode. I bet that's never been said before. And that brings to a close another review Who. Just before I go, please check out my other videos because I have started the B&M challenge. Your challenge, should you choose to accept it, is to make a new B&M triple pack design. The closing date for this challenge is the 16th of December, so please check out that video for more details. As always, I hope you enjoyed this video. Like, favourite, subscribe, share, it really helps me out a lot, and be sure to check out the description below for a link to my Patreon. There is an exclusive webcomic and rewards for people who support it, and the funding generated by my Patreon helps me fund future videos. I salute you all, and I will see you with another video very soon.